This group of gentlemen met and they decided, let's go ahead and settle these cases and do it confidentially. Every single person that you see on this screen bears responsibility for what happened in the asbestos crisis. And I want to call out a couple of people individually. You see Vandiver Brown in the top right. He was the corporate attorney, the general counsel, or as he called himself at the time, the general attorney for Johns Manville. He later became the company's secretary, the officer position secretary, not like a receptionist secretary. He was a key figure in this cover-up, and he had his fingers in every single pie that had to do with covering up the dangers of asbestos. And in the bottom slide, we have George Whitney of J.P. Morgan and Anders Voorhees. Now, these guys especially had the opportunity to stop this crisis. George Whitney from J.P. Morgan. Well, J.P. Morgan was a huge bank then, just like it is today. Now, Johns Manville had originally been a family-owned company, but in 1927, J.P. Morgan took over the majority of shares. The family sold out, and then it was going to become a public company. So J.P. Morgan held Johns Manville's destiny in their hand for some period of time, but they also worked with pretty much every industrial company in the country at the time. Anders Voorhees was a very smart gentleman who had an excellent career in industry, and he was so important that he left the employ of Johns Manville in the accounting department. He went over to U.S. Steel, and they still had him be on their board of directors because he was such a valuable person for Johns Manville. Now, U.S. Steel was a huge corporation of its day as well. And here you got Anders Voorhees going over to the steel industry, which every inch of a steel mill is just chock full of asbestos. They have to use tons of insulation. I have a number of clients that worked for U.S. Steel mills throughout the country, and they tell me about how they used asbestos blankets and insulation and all the places it was, and they were never warned about the dangers. Well, Anders Voorhees could have warned U.S. Steel, and U.S. Steel could have done things differently, but they chose not to. So remember these names and remember these faces and understand that these people who today are lauded as captains of industry were architects of a cover-up.